Welcome to AI for Local Impact, a podcast that explores the role of artificial intelligence in advancing development by highlighting work done through the AI for D program. The Artificial Intelligence for Development program, first established in 2020, is funded by Canada's International Development Research Centre and the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. The program supports responsible AI ecosystems where experts in developing countries can create solutions to pressing development challenges while also mitigating risks through safe, inclusive, rights-based, and sustainable AI applications and policies. In this episode, we turn to the Centre of Interdisciplinary Excellence in Artificial Intelligence for Development. This lab, based in Burkina Faso, is focused on bridging Africa's AI skills gap, fostering innovation in critical areas such as health, agriculture, language, and shaping policies that ensure AI development is both ethical and aligned with local needs. My name is Salam Abdallah, researcher at the Global Center on AI Governance, and your host. Joining me today is Professor Tegawendé Bissyandé, professor at the University Joseph Kizerbo in Burkina Faso. He's the principal investigator leading the CITADEL 2.0 project in the Interdisciplinary Excellence Center in AI for D. He's also an affiliated professor at the University of Luxembourg. Professor Bissyandé is widely recognized for his research in machine learning, software engineering, and AI for development. And he's been a driving force in building trustworthy, inclusive AI ecosystems. Welcome, Tega.
Thank you, Salam. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with why this lab was established and why you focused on interdisciplinary excellence.
Okay, so actually, why this lab was established is a bit of a long story, so I will make it very short. We already started to do, as researchers and professors from the diaspora first. We started to work on AI, so as part of our academic, I would say, adventures, and we realized that there are many things, many challenges back home that we could actually work to handle, to address, I would say. But then we started to say, okay, let's have students with us, let's, local manpower. And the first thing that we realized, there was not even a master in AI in the country. Mm-hmm. We are a country of 23 million people, no master in AI. So we said, okay, even if we wanted to do that, we would need an ecosystem to build the curricula and so on and so on. So we went to the university, the virtual university, which should be called digital university. And then we said, okay, let's build a lab within your university where we can harness, everything, I would say the power of the diaspora to build something here for the entire country. And this is how we started. So, and then, we got support from IDRC, and then we launched the lab. We immediately launched the masters. We took PhD students, and we started to talk with the stakeholders about how to integrate AI. And so today we have many PhDs. We have maybe 100 right now masters that have graduated already, and many new, I would say, vocations in the country about doing AI, and many products that are being tried, included by governments.
Okay. Yeah. That's really impressive, going from nothing and kind of building the capacity of so many folks, both at the master's and PhD level.
Yes.
And the focus on interdisciplinarity,
Yes.
Why did you focus on it and how did that come about?
Very good. So basically, I'm always joking every time when I speak to people, because the one thing I know is that I don't know anything, including about the problems. So when we started to discuss about products, about what to do and so on, I simply realized, engineers and scientists, they don't know everything. So you always need to speak to other people. So this is where we said, okay, let's sit down with people from other disciplines. And it's not necessarily, stakeholders in the sense of users. It's also people who believe that maybe AI is not useful because they have their own way of doing things. If you take, for example, medical doctors, it's very difficult to break through them. So what we did is, okay, let's do the lab with them. And then we can discuss about where they think that we are useful, instead of sitting on our side and say, okay, I think that, with AI I can do better than this. So it's the other way around. So we bring them in, we explain to them what is it that AI is doing, what it can do, and then they ask the question, oh, really? So it could be doing this and that? So yes, let's try, and then we do that. So it's a way for us also to integrate AI as a possibility first, and then later on, okay, we do interdisciplinarity, because it's easier also when you are not an engineer, when you are from a specific domain like health or agriculture, when somebody from this domain is advocating for the integration of AI in that domain, it's better heard. Yeah.
So it's an iterative process where you're asking folks where you can fill the gaps, or if you can, and then seeing where you can help. You did mention agriculture and health, but what are in general kind of the critical areas that you see CITADEL 2.0 bridging challenges?
Okay, to decide on that, we looked back at the first iteration of CITADEL itself. In the first iteration, we had 6 pillars we wanted: security, health, and many different things. And then we realized that not every priority should actually be prioritized. So we went back and sat down and said, okay, let's focus on 3 things: earth, okay, because this is where we live. Okay, and it provides food for our subsistence, so we will focus on earth. Second, once we have food, we still need health, because this is necessary for us to thrive. And even if we do that, we need to thrive also as a society. And one important point to live in a society is language. So food, health, and languages. We are focused on that in terms of innovation. But since we are a lab for capacity building, we are training people on technical aspects, and we are hoping that we will leverage these technical skills on these 3 pillars.
And these innovations seem grounded in kind of the realities that human beings are living through. And what are the challenges that you're trying to address in these kind of on earth, the languages, and health, and those spaces, and also in the capacity building gaps that you see?
Yes. So in terms of, I will start backwards. In terms of languages, we are in Francophone country. And also we are a very specific country where Burkina Faso, we have one language that is called Maori, and it's not spoken anywhere else in the world other than in Burkina Faso. If you take Bambara, for example, it's spoken in Mali, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Senegal. So we have much more opportunity that somebody else is going to work on that. But Maori, spoken by 53% of our population, is not spoken anywhere else. So this is a language, a low resource language, that no one else will address other than us. So this is our first, I would say, target. Okay. Second, and this is language. So the language that we target mainly is Maori. And how do we target Maori? We need to remember that in this country, is a specific, but in the entire region, most of the people are illiterate. So it's not NLP in the sense of text, because we cannot read text. So we need to look into really voice synthesis and this kind of, and why do we do that? We have two main big agendas. The first one is that we want to democratize information. So for example, today we have online newspapers in our country that are very well followed by everybody who knows how to read. What about the 80% of the people? So one of the dreams that we have in CITADEL is to build a tool and automated pipeline such that every time a news article is actually produced on this website that every literate guy is following, we would just translate, create a voice, and send to WhatsApp groups so that everybody can hear, a diverse set of opinions. Instead of waiting for campaigns where people go give rice, ask to vote, everybody all year long are actually hearing about contributing somehow, participating in the debate. That's the first thing. The second thing is disinformation. People send a lot of audio, small audio clips, I would say, and those go viral. If you look today at all the tools that exist for detecting, I would say fake news, they do not address that. So they focus on text, and so fake news. But the real fake news goes unnoticed. because they go through audio. And this is one target that we have. This is for language. I will be short of the rest because the rest is obvious. Health is obvious, an obvious problem. So we have key health issues in Burkina Faso. Malaria is one of them. So we do not pretend that we will solve malaria issues. No. What we hope to be able to do is to help people in working on malaria, working on these local diseases, have analytical tools about what is the impact of what we are doing. So and this we have just signed up to take part in one government project, which is to build a health intelligence center. So it's called Centre d'Intelligence Sanitaire. I'm not sure my translation is correct, but that's it. And the idea is to feed a lot of data and help government actually understand what's going on in terms of epidemics and so on. And we want to participate in that. So and earth, food. One of the key problems that we are looking at is I could say that we work on drones, look at how, how speculations are and so on. That's not what we are doing. So what we are looking at is, understanding what kind of seed, is, I would say is sustainable. Or understanding the what kind of seed grows where better, these kind of things. It's I would say less trendy, but it's based on speaking to people in these domains, say this is their problems, and not the other kind of problems that are being dealt with, in a very nice way, by the way.
Yeah. So in all the realms, it sounds like you're applying a contextually adapted application, both from understanding that in terms of language, not everyone's literate, or textually literate rather. So also trying to recognize that audio is a means of communication that is primary for most people. And for health, also trying to see which health needs are contextual to your specific part of the world. And for agriculture as well, what is actually necessary for the production of food, instead of trying to focus on high-end or cutting-edge innovations, focusing on what people need today. And can you share an example of an AI innovation that your lab has been a part of that is most exciting, either in these spaces that you've mentioned or ones you haven't?
So that's it's very interesting because it's like a parent, you have so many children, you don't know which one you know which one you like most, but you cannot say. So one of the things that we have been doing that I'm very much excited about is related mostly to safety, and not because this is cutting edge, but because this is. The government of Burkina Faso has installed, surveillance cameras, in the streets and so on. It's not for surveilling everybody. It's just because of accidents and so on. But what they did is that they bought the system, at a very, very, very high price. And then you have like 50 screens in one room, and then you have so many policemen sitting there in a command room watching TV. And they are hoping that if there is an accident, they will see, but they cannot see. They simply cannot. So they need to be looking at one point exactly to see an accident and be able to move. So when we noticed that, we discussed with them, and then we decided to say, okay, let's put AI in the entire feed, and then try to detect accidents so that we can just highlight the screen to attract attention. That's it. Nothing fancy and so on. But this has constituted a big shift in how they deal with this. So basically now in the country, so when there is an accident in the capital city, there is immediately, the center is actually sending, emergency services on site instead of waiting for somebody to actually call to the call center, which is often, overrun and so on. So this is something that I'm very excited about not because it's a huge innovation, but because this has impact every day. Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the work that you're doing is critical to responding to folks' needs and priorities. And what would you imagine would happen if you and your team and your lab weren't doing the work that you're doing? So this will help us understand why your lab, and also why now? Why is now a critical time?
So if we were not doing what we were doing, well, we had the chance of seeing the situation before and after us. So it's easy for me to say that, now people are coming to us because they have seen, their neighbors and other people, other colleagues have benefited from collaborating with us. So this works quite well. But most importantly, even in academia, what we've seen is that once we started this master and we had, students and so on, we built curricula thanks to IDRC. By the way, they helped us with funding so that we can build curricula, build the slides, have online open online resources, all of this that other people are using in other universities to build new masters. This is already very great that there is this kind of replication. That's the first thing. Second thing is that because of the products that we are showcasing and so on, it created a lot of vocation. So many other people are interested in AI, and they want to demonstrate, and there is now some kind of bubbling competition in the country, which is very nice because all the models that we have built, prototypes, are now getting improved by other people, which is simply great. Yes.
So it's now a more collaborative effort between your lab and the folks who are now getting engaged as well.
Yes.
And what role does collaboration with policymakers and decision makers make, and what kind of role does it play in the work that you do?
So basically, because we were the very first lab in AI in the country, it was easier to be noticed, and it was easier for us also to push a certain agenda. So we discussed with the ministries. We have MOUs being signed about how to implement AI in public services, whether in health or in communication and culture, different things. So that's good. The second thing that we have done also is that we have contributed heavily to writing the national strategy in AI, and this is again because we have the first there, so we inspired that the policy in that sense. And next step for us is we are discussing about funding. How do we sustain funding nationally so that AI can be leveraged for attaining the development goals of the government. But this requires that our lab makes some kind of budgeting, and explains to the government what should be done and how it should be done, because this is new to them as well. So this is the kind of things that we have been doing.
And what kind of impact have you seen, particularly in terms of training or innovation in policy spaces? What kind of progress have you witnessed over the time that you've been collaborating with these actors?
So basically, first thing in terms of training, this is interesting because we built the first master in AI, and when the government did this year what they call the university map of the country, because they want to optimize resources. So we want to decide which university must do what, which kind of curriculum. So it was very aligned with what we have been doing, our implementation of AI. So they said, the virtual university, you will do AI. And this is a big thing for us, because it means that they agreed that this is the place where we have started something and this is the place to grow. So that's good. In terms of training still, we had one ambition from the start, which is to level, I would say, the field. So basically we want to train people that would be attractive inside and outside the country. And this is at the master's level. We have been able to see the results because master's is fast. So then we have right now more than 10 students that are in labs across the world. in Canada, in Luxembourg, in Australia, in France, in Netherlands. And this is good because it means that, we have trained people that other people think are capable. And that's good for us. Obviously, we want them to come back. And they will come back somehow. Because, again, that's in CITADEL 2.0, that's our objective, to create an environment where those who are outside will say, okay, I can do the same inside the country. Back home, I can come and do this. That's the environment we want to create. For policy, I would say that right now we have done things based on connections that we have, but I'm seeing with the adoption of the AI strategy roadmap that is coming, that there will be many opportunities, because in this roadmap we have, thanks to our own experience, help the government say, okay, let's not do a strategy that is worthy. Let's do a strategy that is focused on, okay, what are the key 3-4 problems that you want to solve and that you require AI people to contribute to. That's the strategy. So it might change in 3 or 4 years once these problems have been addressed, but for now, let's focus on that. And it's a very pragmatic way, and you see that our strategy is a bit different from other strategies in the region, actually, simply because we focus on implementation. Obviously, we need to discuss ethics and so on. That's the reason why we collaborated with NIEL to have these ethical, guidelines for, ethical and responsible AI. That's fine. But for us, this is, it's the guidelines for implementation. But the strategy for us is, let's do it.
So it sounds like you have very clear ambitions, ones that kind of have a wide breadth but also depth, and you're working with a lot of different actors. But what inspires your team to keep driving this work forward?
Results. Results, in the sense that it's so rewarding when you can see that the small code that you are writing and so on, somebody else is waiting for that. It's very much rewarding when you see something being adopted, when you see that people expect something from you for their mission. Because their mission is it's established. Everybody knows that this guy, health department, they must do this, they must solve the problem of epidemic of malaria and so on and so on. And this guy says, to achieve this result, I need you. So you can only wake up very early and do the job, because it will have this, and they will recognize that you contributed to that. And honestly, for me, this is what wakes me up every morning. Knowing that somebody is waiting for me. That's
That was our last question.
Okay.
And it went well. Thank you so much, Tega, for joining me today. You've been listening to AI for Local Impact. This podcast is brought to you by the Global Center on AI Governance for the AI for D program. To learn more about this project and the larger AI for D program, please visit ai4d.ai. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, share this episode, and join us next time as we continue to explore how AI is shaping development across the Global South.